So today we are going to talk about puja. What exactly is puja? Is it some sort of like empty belief, some stuff people do to console themselves, or just fulfill some of their magical wishful thinking, or is there some deeper science behind it? Religion and spirituality all over the globe has basically divided itself into two kinds of dichotomies. One is the what you call as empty belief or mindless series of activities that you do, which you have inherited from your ordinary people think that they have inherited it from their family or culture or belief system. Uh, that's one aspect, and the other aspect is philosophy. And we have all heard about the archetype, or I would say caricature of like the absent-minded philosopher. You know, cannot really achieve any outcomes in the real world, like a professor or philosopher, basically powerless thoughts in powerless argumentation. Um, so, what exactly it is? And so, we're going to delve into that a little bit today. So, this is a topic that started, the roots of which took root in my life somewhere. I think it started in 2021. And then when I got my first initiation into a spiritual lineage, and I was brought up in a family that was deeply spiritual, and so I did ingrain a lot of those values by default. But this was the first time when I actually took to a specific spiritual practice under a formalized relationship in a guru sishya parampara, or like a teacher student. I would say a guru in Sanatana Dharma is something more than just a teacher. uh, it carries with it a aspect of uh, power that is not just this kind of ties to what we were talking about earlier. It's not just empty belief, neither it's powerless thoughts. It's something more. It's energetic, it's transformational. And so when I look at puja, and as I went deeper into it with a very fresh set of eyes that grew up in an Indian context, but also distrustful of some of the local cultures and the way we look at things. Um, Obviously influenced by what we today understand as Macaulayism, or there's this Thomas Babington Macaulay who once said that we need to create a breed of people in the global south who mediate between us, the colonialists, and the natives. And so, and he introduced a sort of a Western educational model that was not too bad. I mean, the intentions were not very noble, but the Western educational model definitely brings a lot of um, benefits. So, and with that, ingrained with that education and the patterns that surround it, I was by default in my childhood a little bit not very inclined towards ritual, or what I understood as superstition or empty belief. And I was very much drawn to philosophy. And over a period of time, which I realized is powerless as well, um, if it is not, done in a proper manner. And then I was introduced to this puja. Um, so, what exactly is puja? Most of us think, at least those who come from the traditional orthodox mindset, we feel that it's something we do in order to retain our culture, our identity. It's a duty. It's something that passes from family, or It's really, I think a lot of this thing is tied around like belief systems and comfort zones and rigid ways of thinking. And I don't think this is about that. If you do it really properly, it's going to break all your comfort zones. It's going to break all your rigidity and whatever you thought was your culture, everything, right? If you do it properly. Most of us, we do not know what exactly it is. Having been brought up in Bharat and in settings where, I mean, we did live in communities which were deeply religious. And I can for sure tell you that none of them actually practice the real stuff. They don't even know how to do a ritual properly, and they don't know their foundations, their sources of the practices that they do. So they've just got something from uh, the previous generation and try to do whatever they can, and it's almost like a conditioning, uh, an inheritance that they get from their ancestors, imitation of what their parents did or what they were told by the local priests and all those people. And so I don't think it is all of that. I feel it's an inner method for sacred transformation. And I think somewhere it is necessary to start from philosophy, start from a very strong sense of uh, initially I thought it has to start from a strong discriminatory intellect, uh, which we understand as viveka, and then thoughts, philosophical, like clarity in thinking. But then I realized as I went a little bit deeper into puja and then tried to explore some of the Vedantic ideas and also Kashmir Shaivism, I realized that it actually has to start much more before that, which is pure awareness, and understanding of what awareness is and what identification is. When awareness actually gets identified with something, it might be thoughts or it could be habits or desires or feelings or emotions or anything that actually happens in that awareness, right? So, and I think when it comes to puja, it is important for us to start with that uh, awareness as a foundation, keeps us grounded and safe. And it's also very much more effective, I feel. And so with that foundation, puja is really a way to uh, bring that philosophy to life by integrating the body, the senses, the emotions, and even energetic practices. Some of these rituals can actually, some of them are almost like, I feel like there's an aspect to these rituals that may not be uh, explained by a limited understanding of like a materialism or material sense of way of understanding things. And so what typically you understand as like folk spells or magic, right? I think it's operating at a layer which is we don't understand yet very thoroughly, and there is a science to it, obviously, but not all of it is understood properly, and so it appears to us like a spell or a magic or something like that, right? I mean, that's what most people believe, and that's where all the superstition comes in. Uh, and so, and I feel that is got related to that's mostly related to like the energetics of it, and then some of the things when you start a puja practice, it can actually, you might end up in situations where external situations force you to break certain ego identifications, attachments, because that's for your own good, for your journey towards mastery into higher consciousness. And so that's why it becomes very important. This is almost like a once you have a strong grounding in awareness and philosophy, and now you actually want to bring that to life, transform your body, your senses, emotions, have mastery in the world. And that's what really I feel puja is about. And if you see the yantras that are often used in pujas, you'll have like the upward facing triangle, which kind of represents the Shiva principle. awareness and intellect and logic and all of that. And then you have the downward facing triangle, which is creation, manifestation, Shakti. Um, and that's where all the embodiment, the expression comes into place. And so there's a lot of superstition, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of complications around this whole topic. And I think we have to, if you start from awareness, I just want to introduce the concept of pratyabhijna, which I found in Kashmir Shaivism, is anything that I see right now, as I am speaking, I can hear my voice, I can see this laptop screen in front of me, I have my thoughts and all of this, the lighting, this background music playing in the background, all of it's in my awareness. And so everything is awareness. And so within awareness, there are thoughts, there are emotions, there are perceptions of certain things that you see as physical objects in space, sound, everything. There's nothing except in your awareness. And even if you are able to perceive something, it is how you perceive it. And often you add a color into it. And so, uh, as per Kashmir Shaivism, the concept of pratyabhijna, awareness is nothing but God. It is Shiva. And everything that appears within awareness is transient, is temporary, including your thoughts, your emotions, your body, everything, whatever you see. It's almost like if you were in a dream. What is everything that appears in your dream? You see objects, you see people, you see moving things, you might be flying, the sky and whatnot, but everything is your own mind. And when you come out of the dream, it's all gone because it was nothing but you, your own mind. And so it's kind of something similar in the waking space as well. Maybe we are in the mind of God, right? And so we have, all of us have a different sense of identity, that I am different from you, but maybe we are all parts of the mind of God, and God is dreaming, and maybe God dreams at various levels. Uh, and so if you start from there, then we have this mantra, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavi Brahmagno Brahmnahutam Brahmevatan Gantavya Brahma Karma Samadhina. So what exactly is puja? Where we are offering something to our deity, our chosen deity, whom we hopefully we love that deity, but if not, we want to love her or him or it. And who is loving who? So let's say if you're worshipping Lalita Tripura Sundari or Kali, then it's Kali who's worshipping Kali, and she is offering Kali, like whether you're offering flowers or fruits, everything is Kali. Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavi, Brahm. So it's everything is Brahman, you know. And when you're doing a Havan, the Havan is Brahman. What you're offering to the Havan is also Brahman, and the offerer is also Brahman. And the thing being worshipped, or the entity being worshipped, or being offered to, is also Brahman. And so that is the understanding of the awareness. And now, when you come at ritual from this perspective, now I want to talk a little bit about the dark side of ritual. Uh, Today, any temple we go to in Bharat, uh, any temple, you know, you tell me what Vedic gods do you worship today? Like most of the gods that we worship today are not from the Vedas, very few. I mean, Rudra is mentioned maybe a couple of times. I mean, Rudra is there and Vishnu is there, but most of the gods are, I think, we worship today Puranic gods or tantric gods. And our worship methods, like Vedas did not have any temples. They, if you go in a temple today, you have the Vigraha. There is no concept of Vigraha in the Vedas. Vedas only had fire rituals, yagyas or homas. And what were being worshipped in those homas is um, forces of nature. And the worship was for attainment of like specific objectives, uh, almost like worldly objectives, I would say. And so today, even sannyasis, some of the sannyasis in some sampradayas are not permitted to do kind of Vedic yagyas, because those are considered like quote unquote worldly activities. And so the concept of vigraha, again, if you go to a temple, and most people don't know about this, is that vigraha is just a way for ordinary person to really think about God. But if you even if you physically go into a temple, you will be able to notice that in front of the vigraha there is the yantra, which is the geometrical dimension, geometrical pattern of the deity or the energy. And it's almost like, if you go a little bit deeper, and so all of the science of temple building, these yantras, these vigrahas, and how things should be placed, and then there is mantra. And so all of this comes from the agamas, which are actually technically, quote unquote, tantra. If you don't like it, I'm sorry for you. I that's kind of very sad. And so the mantra is a sound form of God. It's more than the vigraha, more than this idol that you see. It's the mantra, which is God. Mantra is God in sound form. And if you want to see something more gross, it's the yantra. It's the two-dimensional pattern that you see, and then also there are three-dimensional versions. A very popular one would be Sri Yantra. On the screen itself, on the left-hand corner, you can see like there's this small little Sri Yantra uh, icon over there. And so it's composed of like various elements, and so it's like a geometrical representation of the vibration of the deity. And so what exactly is a deity? And basically, this whole science of temple building, mantras, yantras, and rituals and puja is all coming from the agamas or the tantras. And unfortunately, this is all kind of secret, hidden. There's this concept of adhikara. I'm sure there must be a reason why this concept was introduced, because you wanted a little bit of a person to have some sort of evolution and maturity before they get into this. Otherwise, they'll make they'll make it dirty. And but eventually, that's what has happened. They have made it dirty. Uh, Mostly all the sciences used by has been usurped by the modern asuras, I would say, for gaining either money, power, and sometimes even sex. We hear about Ashok Kharat, and there's this thing about like this Vallabhkul. Apparently, there's details of how the Maharajas of so-called Vallabhkul, um, had this kind of lavish havelis, and where the guruhood passes from father to son, and they abuse their disciples. They claim that they are Krishna, and then they try to sexually exploit or abuse their disciples. And I faced a lot of problems where there are certain people from Wallabhkul who told me, you shouldn't be doing these rituals. This is black magic. Puja is black magic. Worshipping God is black magic, right? And only brahmanas and our JJs sitting in these like Havelis can only do these rituals. They can only they can chant these mantras. Only they can access the power of God. And you must go to them. They are your gatekeepers, you know. And so these gatekeepers either charge money, or they have some sort of dominion or control over you, your money, your time, or your body, your votes, or whatever. And so, and in spite of that, you don't know what's going on. You don't even know if they're doing it properly. They might be muttering something, but you don't know where does it come from. Is it coming from which scripture it comes from? What is the Guru Sampradaya? What exactly they're trying to do? Who's the deity they're trying to worship? What do these mantras mean? So what's the point? If you read Bhagavad Gita, it says that any kind of spiritual activity that you do will carry you from birth to birth. So if I do some genuine spiritual activity in this birth, then that benefit or punya or that spiritual evolution is going to be accompanying me into my next birth, right? And so if you pay someone either via money, via sex, or via some sort of like control over certain aspect of your life, what is it? Is are you getting something that is going to move with you to the next birth? I mean, they would like to tell you, yes, keep paying us money, you know, keep giving us control over various aspects of your life, and in spite of all that, they're not gonna divulge all their secrets. And so this whole thing has now become like a superstition, where if you go to the grocery stores, you see all these big boards, court problems, love problems, marriage problems, child problems, job problems, any kind of problem you have. You go to this astrologer, and they're gonna try to figure out, you know, are you rational, or are you prone to, are you gullible? Can I? He kind of sizes you right? How much can I extract from this person? And then they are gonna spin up some story like, you've got this yoga. I just for testing purposes, like, I just want to test this thing out, and so I went to an astrologer, and eventually over a couple of interactions, this one particular astrologer started talking to me about, pandit basically started talking to me about some sort of karna pishachini. It's kind of ridiculous. They're going to tell you, if you have some problems in family, they're going to tell you, yeah, somebody has done black magic on you, or someone has your they're just going to try to find out how gullible you are, and try to find out ways to really scare you and make you paranoid and fearful. And when you become that, then you're compulsive, you're not thinking, and your pockets become loose. You you'll be exploited either with money, or there are instances where these people have raped their clients, sexually abused them, and uh, the details that I've mentioned about Vallabhkul are obviously alleged and reported. Uh, so I think it's time to just destroy those gates, and tell those gatekeepers, go away. This is my birthright. God is my birthright, because I am awareness, and everything that happens within my awareness is Shakti. And so who can prevent me? What is this adhikara that I'm waiting for from others, from some astrologer or from some pandita who's going to charge me money, or try to gain control over something in my life to give me that adhikara? Yes, that's why we start from pratyabhijna, from awareness, and from a very good philosophical mind, and a training in yama and niyama to keep us safe on this path, because sometimes it can be dangerous to the ego identity. But let me tell you, life is dangerous. Every person who, when I started my Kali Puja journey, all they wanted to do, everyone that came into my life, was just wanted me to stop for some reason. And yes, my uh, the after I started that journey, there was a lot of like ego death, or the death of the ego identity that happened. And but, like, is life any uh, more safer? I mean, when I see the situations that I faced, and I can be fearful. Oh well, I started this ritual, and so that's why I hear all these panditas and these astrologers who try to scare me. And again, they are gonna basically try to do some ritual that will cure me of whatever I've gotten myself into, right? If I try to listen to them. Now, when I ask myself, like, I have a bunch of friends, some of my friends, a very spiritual friend has an autistic son. Um, there's someone else in my community whose parents are not doing well, so they are bedridden, both of the parents, and so life is very difficult for them. And I really appreciate the fact they love their parents so much, and they do so much for their parents. It's kind of very difficult. Not many people are willing to do that. and some people have all sorts of diseases and stuff, and there are people in like various parts of the world who are going through war and destruction and a lot of cruelty. Whatever is going in my life right now, well, it's probably self-created. I mean, in a way, I'm not having any kind of disease, right? This it's all psychological. It's all due to my own resistance to the situations that are happening in my life. And what is it that you are fearful of? Ultimately, you will face death, disease, loss. It's just that the ritual, even if it results in changes in external circumstances that loosen your true identity a little bit, it'll make you a little bit more freer. And that freedom is power. That the lack of freedom is what is preventing you from climbing or from ascending uh, to a stage where your full potential can be unleashed. And that's what ritual does. And so it's time to discard all these fears and all these superstitions and all these gatekeepers and their abuse and exploitation, and take control of our own dharma. And I know I'm gonna probably face a lot of rejection for this and a lot of opposition, because these forces who control this power in form of genuine dharma and religion, they are very strong. They want to continue to operate. And so maybe not right now, but eventually I predict as I go on this journey of opening this up, um, I will face opposition, and I'm prepared to face that because I don't fear anything anymore. That's what my ritual is going. Thank you.